Welcome everyone. This is 9.4 part 1. I don't have I made a mistake on our notes, and so instead of doing notes, we're just going to do a couple examples on the homework, and then hopefully that will be good. Okay, so for 9.4, factoring when a is greater than 1. So if we look at all of these terms, all of these problems, the first term has a coefficient that is greater than 1. So for example, for number 1, this is a equals 3, this is a equals 4, this is a equals 5, a equals 6. Here we got a equals 28. So we have lots of problems where a is not 1. It's greater than 1. We'll actually never, at least not in this class, we'll go over when we have a is less than 1. But so these are all problems where a is greater than 1. And we're going to be doing problems where we can take out the greatest common factor before we do factoring. Okay, so these first 6 problems, all of these, you can take out the greatest common factor, and then once you do that, then you can use the shortcut. Okay, for those who don't like the shortcut, that's totally fine. You're welcome to just do grouping, factoring by grouping. So maybe we'll do an example of each. And you already did these problems on our last homework, so this is kind of a review for this. All right, so for any problem, your first step should be taking out the greatest common factor. Okay, always see if there is one. It'll help you make the problem a lot easier. So for example, if you did glasses right away, then you'd end up getting 3x squared times a negative 54, and that gives you like 162 or something like that. And then you'd need to come up with the factor pairs for 162, which is, you can do that, it's manageable. But it's much easier if you take out the greatest common factor. So for here, we can divide everything by 3. So that means we can factor out a 3. That leaves us with x squared. So to get that, we just divide it by 3, and that leaves us with the x squared plus 3x minus, this would be 18, I think. Okay. And then, once we factored out the greatest common factor, we can do glasses. So that gives us negative 18x squared. And we multiply those two terms. And then we need to find two things that multiply to give you that and add to give us the middle term. So the 3x. And then you can come up with factor pairs for 18, which is a lot more doable. So 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. Those are your only factor pairs. Okay, and you probably say, well, 3 and 6, we can use that to give us 3. We'd have to do 6x minus 3x. That would give you 3x. And then if you multiplied those, 6 times a negative 3, that gives you a negative 18. So that works. Okay, so at this point, what you'd do is you'd either use the shortcut, or you're going to plug that in to the middle term and do it by grouping. Okay, so you can use the shortcut. So here, for these problems, we can factor out the greatest common factor, then we'll do glasses. We just did that already. That's when I say glasses, I mean that's where we multiply the first and last term. I guess it's right here. And then we found the two things that multiply and divide, or multiply and add. Okay, so this is what I call glasses. And then after that, if a is 1, use the shortcut. Okay, so the shortcut, again, is if a is 1, so there's no coefficient in front of that x squared, we can use the shortcut. So we still have the greatest common factor, we'll write that down, and then we're going to write down 2 parentheses. Okay, and what's going to go in those parentheses will always be your variable, so x and x. And then these numbers that we found, the 6 and the -3, that's what's going to go in these parentheses. So +6 and a -3. All right. And if you, like again, if you prefer to plug that in to the middle term and do something like x squared plus 6x minus 3x minus 18, and then do grouping. I mean, here you can take out an x, that gives you an x plus 6. Here we can take out a -3, that leaves us with an x plus 6. And so our two parentheses would end up being x plus 6 and x minus 3, which is what we have right here. And then again, you need to write down the greatest common factor that we took out, which is the 3. So either way, you'd end up getting the right answer. It just depends on if you want to do grouping or not. Okay? And again, this only applies if A is 1. Okay? So you'll have some later in this homework where you won't be able to do the shortcut. So make sure you don't do the shortcut when you're not supposed to. Okay? So there are some examples. Again, I think I did a couple of these on the last video too. So if you need more examples of that, then go for that. Okay? So these are all these types of problems, 1 through 5, or 1 through 6, is where you take out the greatest common factor, you do glasses, and A will be 1, so you can use the shortcut. Okay? All right, so let's actually do, well, let's do one more. Okay, how about 3? No, let's do 4. 2. We'll do 2. Okay, here it looks like we could take out a 4. So what would left would be v squared plus, looks like 19v, and plus 2, I think it's going to be 90. Okay, maybe I should double check. So always use your calculator, because I always make mistakes, so everyone makes mistakes. So I'd use a calculator to double check your answers. So 76 divided by 4, yep, that's 19, and 360 divided by 4, that gives you 90, okay? So we're good there. Then we're going to do glasses. That gives you 90 v squared. And find two things that multiply to give you that and add to give us the middle term, the 19v. Okay? You can come up with factor pairs. Okay, I think I already have an idea of what I would use, but I'll go through the process of coming up with the factor pairs. So we'd do like 90 divided by 1, that gives you 90. We could do 90 divided by 2, that gives us 45. We could do 90 divided by 3, that gives us 30. We could do 90 divided by 4, that doesn't go in. 90 divided by 5, that gives you 18. 90 divided by 6, that gives you 15. So we're getting close. We could use 6 and 15, that would give us 21, so we're getting closer. Okay. 90 divided by 7, that doesn't go in. 90 divided by 8, that doesn't go in. 90 divided by 9, so that gives us 9 and 10. Okay, so that would be the one that would work. If you add those together, that gives us 19. If we multiply them, it gives us 90. So we'd do 9v plus 10v. Okay, and then we could use the shortcut because a is 1. So here we'd still have the 4. And then we'd have our two parentheses. We're using v's. And then we have a positive 9, so plus 9, and a positive 10, so plus 10. Okay, so these come here. Okay, and again, if you wanted to plug that whole thing in the middle term and do grouping, you're more than welcome to do that. Okay, so there we go, a couple examples. Hopefully you can get the rest done for your homework. All right, and then the next 12, or next 6 problems, 7 through 12. We can take out the greatest common factor. So that's the first step we'd want to do here would be always, like I said, always we're going to take out the greatest common factor. When I say take out, I mean factor out the greatest common factor. So here, what can go into 6, 33, and 42? Okay, well, the factor pairs for 6 is 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. So does 6 go into 33? It does not, so we can't use 6. Does 3 go into 33? Yes. And does 3 go into 45? Yes. Okay, so we can factor out a 3. That leaves us with 2v squared plus 11v plus 42 divided by 3 gives you 14. Okay, so in this situation, we can't take out the leading term. We can't force a to be 1. So we can't use the shortcut. So in this situation, we'd still do glasses. So our next step would be glasses. I'll write this down too. We'd do glasses. Okay, and that would end up giving us 28v squared. Two things that multiply to give us that, and add to give us 11v. So for 28, we could do 128, 2 and 14. 3 doesn't go in, 4 and 7. And 5 doesn't go in, and 6 doesn't go in. So those are our choices. Would use 4 and 7. So 4v plus 5v, or 7v, sorry. 7v, that gives us the 11v. And then if you multiply those together, that gives us the 28v squared. So again, we can't use the shortcut. So for step 3, if a is not equal to 1, grouping. So here we'll have 2v squared still, and then we'd have plus 4v plus 7v, that gives us the 11v, plus 14. And we'll just hang on to this 3, the greatest common factor that we took out at the beginning. We'll put that in at the end. Okay? So here we could take out a 2v. Divide everything by 2v. That leaves us with v plus 2. And then here we can divide everything by 7. So plus 7. And what's left would be v plus 2. So check. Those are the same. And then we'll factor those out. That'll be v plus 2. And what's left would be 2v plus 7. And then we'll take that greatest common factor out in the front. And that's the whole shebang. So this is everything possible that we've covered this time. So taking out the greatest common factor. Factoring when there's 3 terms. We'll do glasses. We come up with those 2 things, and we can't use the shortcut, so we plug that in to the middle term and do grouping. Okay, so there's like the steps if you need to. Basically, everything that you're going to be doing for the test has the same first 2 steps, is to take out the greatest common factor and do glasses. Okay, except the case where, say this was gone, then all you'd need to do is take out the greatest common factor, and you'll be done. So we'll always start by checking to see if we can take out the greatest common factor. And we'll do glasses. And then if a is 1, we can use the shortcut. And if it's not, then we'll do grouping. Okay? Yeah, okay. So I'll probably do one more example for you, and then the rest is for you. Okay? So 9. Again, just because, I've told you these, all 6 of these are the same. But like on the test, it's not going to be, they won't be like cleared out or specific telling you what steps you're going to need to do. So first, again, you're always going to do the greatest common factor. So it looks like, I would write down the factor pairs for 28. So for 28, you could do 1 and 28, 2 and 14, 4 and 7. That's it. Okay? You could do for 76, and you could also do it for 144. It also might be easier just to say, well, let's see, can we divide 76 by 28? And you put that in, and you wouldn't be able to go into that. And we could try and divide it by 14. Does that work? And that doesn't work. And then you could try 7, and that doesn't work. And then you could divide it by 4, and then that would work. And then you could try here and say, can you divide that by 4? Check. So, I mean, lots of different ways you could do that. That's probably how I would do it. Just since there's only 6 possible choices, I would probably just divide it by until you get what works. 4 and 4 would go into both of those. But if you'd like to write down the factor pairs for all of them, then you're welcome to do that too. Okay? So we can take out a 4. And then we'd get 7x squared. Here we'd get 19x. And then it looks like 144 divided by 4. Gives you a negative 36. Okay, so we factored out the 4. Yes, now we'll do glasses. So we'll do 7 times a negative 36. That gives us 252 x squared. You need to give us 19x. Okay. If you didn't take out the greatest common factor, then you'd be doing glasses for this. 28 times a negative 144, which gives you 4,032. And you don't want to write down factor pairs for that many. That's a lot of factor pairs. So that's one of the main reasons why we take out the greatest common factor first, because that would be kind of hard. Doable, but hard, okay? You just have to keep dividing until you figured out what would work for 76. All right, so here we go. Let's do factor pairs for 252. You could do 1 and 252. You could do 2, and you get 252 divided by 2. 126, that won't work. I mean, that won't get us where we need to be. Divided by 3, you could do 3 and 84. You could do 4, that gives you 63. 5 doesn't go in. 6 goes in 42 times. So, I mean, we're getting closer and closer. 7 and 36. 8 doesn't go in. 9 gives you 28. 10 doesn't go in. 11 doesn't go in. 12 goes in. 12 and 21. 13 doesn't go in. 14 and 18. 16 doesn't go in, and 17 doesn't go in. So those would be all the factor pairs. Okay, so that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you only had to try 9 times. You may have realized that this one was the answer, and you just stopped, which is fine. I mean, that would only give you 7 times. So you only have to try 7 times, and this is kind of like a hard problem. Okay, so usually it will be at least that or less when you're looking. Okay, probably less. Okay, I'll try and make the test so that you don't have to do lots of factor pairs. Okay, but we found the 2 things that would work: 78 and 9, or 28 and 9. So 28x, and we'd have to do minus 9x. That would give us the 19x. And if you multiply that, that gives us our original negative 252x squared. Okay, so again, can we use the shortcut? Nope, because a is 7. So we'll need to write down or substitute these two terms in for the middle. So 7x squared plus 28x minus 9x minus 36. And we'll do grouping. Okay, so here we can take out a 7x. So that leaves us with x plus 4. And then here we can take out a negative 9. Again, if we have a leading negative, we need to take that out. So negative 9, that leaves us with x plus 4. Okay, these are both the same. Check, check. So we'll take those out. X plus 4, it's our new greatest common factor. And then what's left will be the 7x minus 7, or 9. And don't forget, we have that 4 that we took out at the beginning. Okay? Nice. Okay, well, if you have any other questions, let me know. This is as hard as it's going to get. And I know it's lots of steps, but with practice, you'll get it, okay? Just like anything else in life, it takes practice. Okay? So again, the steps for these, for all of these, for this homework, we're going to take out the greatest common factor. You're going to do glasses. And then if A is 1, then you can use the shortcut. And if it's not, then you have to do grouping. Okay? All right, we'll see you later. Let me know if you have any questions.